Yeah.
Mr. Prasad Rao, would you like to introduce yourself? Prasad Rao Sakare. Yes, Karthik Ganesh, you can speak.
Hello. Hello. Am I
Yes,
audible?
yes. Yeah, audible, Skanda.
Yeah, I'm Skanda. I'm from KWK Visitors India Private Limited. I'm working as an HR in the company.
Oh, good, good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Karthik Ganesh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please speak.
This is Karthik. I'm pursuing labor studies at Tamil Nadu Institute of Labor Studies at Chennai.
Okay.
I'm humble and so thank you for this arrangement, sir.
Very good. Welcome, Karthik. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Sweekrit H.S. Patel, would you like to introduce?
Yes, sir. I am Sweekrit. I am studying HR MSW in St. Aloysius College, Mangalore.
Okay. From Central Aloysius, I have seen many students joining. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Ms. Preeti Verma, would you like to introduce?
Hello, sir. Good morning to everyone. My name is Preeti Verma, and I'm pursuing MBA from National School of Business.
National School of Business, very good. Thank you. I have seen a lot of registrations from there. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Sahiti, would you like to introduce?
Yes, sir. So,
Yes,
sir, I'm
please.
pursuing MA HRM from Madras School of Social Work. So, this is my first year.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is going to be a very interesting webinar, and Mr. Deen Dayal also is the alumnus from your college.
Yes, sir.
Ekta Shanai, would you like to introduce?
Sir, may I introduce myself?
Yeah, please, Ramya. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I'm Ramya and I'm a student from Madras School of Social Work, sir. This is my first year.
Very good. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Jayakumar. You have to unmute.
Good morning. Yeah. Good morning, James. How are you? Good morning, Dean.
Yeah, very nice.
Hi, Dean. How are you? Dean, you have to unmute, I think. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Jabba,
Morning.
I'm little worried. People like you are, I'm afraid of speaking.
Hey, come on, yeah. You are a veteran.
But this is more for students.
Okay. Good. Let me see. I'm also a student, yeah, lifelong student.
Good morning, Jeb Kumar, sir. Kumudini
Good
here.
morning. How are you? Hi, Kumudi. How are you?
Doing good, sir.
I have to be very careful now. I can't get away with the murder.
In fact, Dr. James have been having a series of programs. I think would have got it.
Yes.
Last month and all that. Dean? Hello?
Mr. Dean is. Good morning, everyone. We another few minutes. He is joining. We will start the session. Mr. Dean has gone off. I think it is still.
Yeah, it is frozen.
Yeah. Good morning, Sri Ganesh. Good morning, Mr. Sri Ganesh.
Morning, Sri Ganesh.
Kindly unmute. I'm very sorry for the delay. He'll be joining any moment now.
Okay, okay.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good.
Nice
Good
to
morning.
see all of you, sir.
Morning, Srinivas.
Thank you, sir.
Srinivas.
Thank you. Antes Murthy, sir. Maybe Santosh Kumar, sir, also there, sir. Uni Krishnan, sir, and Jeba Kumar, sir.
Hi, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be joining few seconds. He has already communicated. Send me a message. Welcome
Mr.
all
Shiva.
of you. It's very interesting. What is HR and what is not HR by Mr. Deen Dayalan. Mr. Dean has gone off the screen. Mr. Dean, Mr. Venkatesh Murthy, can you just call him?
You just call him this.
James, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
Sorry, it is delayed for 5-6 minutes.
No problem. Meanwhile, our presenter has gone off the screen. He'll be just joining. Just a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Professor Shivappa, for your information, we have actually got registration about 160 and
Very
about
nice.
57 have joined from various universities in India as well as abroad. And various professionals also have joined from various.
Excellent.
Nice meeting you all, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I see Jeba Kumar, sir. Kumudini
Namaskar,
SP,
sir. Good to see you all.
Namaskara, sir.
Venkatesh Murthy.
Sir, namaskar.
Srinivas, our Central University, Srinivas is here. So many
Good morning,
people.
sir. Good morning, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good to see.
Yes.
Dr. Dean will join in another 2 minutes because his internet got disconnected, I believe.
Oh, I see.
Hmm.
He has joined.
He has
Mr.
joined.
Dean,
Sorry.
is it okay?
Voice is audible?
Yes.
Yeah, now it is audible.
Can we start?
I think
Yes.
we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Shivappa, can we start?
Yes, please.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I request Mr. Shankar to start recording.
Sir, we started, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar.
This is
Good morning.
Rajan.
Good
Okay, no
morning.
problem.
A very warm welcome to each one of you. This is a program organized by MSW Socialites, Alumni Association of the Department of Studies in Social Work, University of Mysore. Hearty welcome to Professor R. Shivappa, our Honorable Registrar of the University of Mysuru, and Professor of Social Work, University of Mysore. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I welcome Mr. Deen Dayalan, founder of CEO and today's webinar presenter. Welcome, sir. I also welcome the students, those who have joined from various universities across India, as well as from abroad, faculty members, practitioners, and all others for attending today's session. I welcome the office bearers of MSW alumni, Venkatesh Murthy, Vice President and Secretary, Mr. Mutanna, and all other alumni members. As you are aware, MSW Socialites is an alumni association of the Department of Studies in Social Work, and we have been organizing various webinars. And this month beginning, we had a 4-day webinar series. Our next webinar will be organized in November, and prominent union leaders will address us. I owe much to Mr. Simha Shastri of Prime Events and Conferences for hosting us free of cost in Zoom. I am Dr. James Thomas, President of MSW Socialites and your host today. Before we get into the main program, as you are aware, we are passing through a very difficult stage due to COVID, and I request everyone to close your eyes and be silent for a minute and pray for the departed souls, as well as to find cure for COVID. Just a minute. Thank you. Welcome back. Now, may I call upon Dr. Kumudini Achi, our alumnus and assistant professor of PGD Social Work, JSS College of Arts, Science and Commerce, to formally welcome everyone and introduce Professor R. Shivopa.
24th, right?
Thank you, Mr. James. Good morning, all. I take this opportunity to welcome the dignitaries and the participants enrolled for this seminar today. It's my privilege to introduce and welcome Professor R. Shivopa, sir, Registrar and Professor of Social Work, University of Mysore, who will be inaugurating a webinar on what is HR and what is not HR, organized by MSW Socialites of University of Mysore. Professor R. Shivopa has served the Department of Studies in Social Work, University of Mysore as Professor and Chairman for more than 7 years. Earlier to this period, he has served the same department as Associate Professor at Region 2. The uniqueness of Professor Shivopa sir is possessing a rich field experience as well as academics. He received his Master of Social Work degree from Bangalore University in 1991 and PhD from Karnataka University, Dharwad in 2004. A fellowship from Government of Denmark was awarded to him in 2000. Mentioning his field experiences, he sought assignments in project management, research and relationship management for rural and urban development programs, HRD and personnel management with leading organizations in India and overseas. He has acquired expertise in steering projects on rural development, rural water supply and sanitation, etc. He has a rich knowledge of development and application of participatory strategies like PRA, PLA, PMW, that is participatory monitoring wheel techniques, advocacy for policy reform at government and intermediary level in rural and urban development programs. He is recognized as an effective communicator with strong relationship management skills and hands-on experience in networking with consultants, NGOs, government agencies, and safeguarding the interests of beneficiaries and stakeholders. He has work experience with EGS Consultants Bangalore as social development expert, STEM Consultants Bangalore as senior consultant on UNICEF assignment of training the civil engineers and CEOs of ZPs of Andhra Pradesh government, and also with ANSSIRD, Mysore as faculty for more than 5 years. 5 years, yeah. He has also served DANITA, Royal Danish Embassy, New Delhi as Senior Social Advisor, Project Advisory Group, Bangalore. He is an identified trainer too. He has conducted training programs for Gram Panchayat functionaries and village communities on project execution and maintenance. Academically, he has published more than 35 research papers in reputed international journals. He has presented more than 50 research papers in various knowledge-sharing platforms at international and national levels, has produced 6 PhDs and 5 scholars are pursuing their doctoral degree under Sir's guidance. He has completed 3 major projects funded by Government of Karnataka, CAPART, etc. He has authored 2 books. And he has also shouldered the responsibility of collaborative program of University of Mysore and Kingston University, London. He has visited various countries such as England, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Nepal, and UAE. He has engaged in research exchange collaboration programs with Kingston University, London, Charles Sturt University, Australia, School of Social Work, Zurich University of Applied Science, Switzerland. He is also serving various statutory bodies of various universities towards enriching social work education and organizing more than 12 seminars, conferences, symposium at national and international level is in his credit. Shivopa sir, sorry, because of the time limit, I try to reduce your huge biodata into a small introduction. Please excuse. With a small introduction, I welcome you to this platform heartfully, sir, on behalf of myself, MSW Socialites. Hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kumudini, for a wonderful, welcome address and introduction of Professor R. Shivopa. Now, I may request Professor Shivopa to inaugurate the session, please.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Dr. Kumudini Achi. And I must congratulate Dr. James Thomas, who is instrumental behind all these initiatives, and his team, Venkatesh Murthy, and all other Zeb Kumar sir, and everybody, is interested, and they are doing a wonderful job here. I am extremely happy that I'm delighted, and it's a great, honor you are giving me to inaugurate this webinar series. And you have accomplished so many webinars, so many webinars, and this is one amongst that. I would like to just touch upon, but I have actually initially I started my career as HR guy only during 91, 92. Later on I switched over to development myself because of my own personal reasons. So whatever I remember, and also I would like to share my experiences as part of inaugural address. First of all, I would like to touch upon 2-3 things on what is not HR. Later we'll come to what is HR, because we are all talking about what is HR and all. I would like to just touch upon 2-3 things. What is not HR? I think in my experience, with a limited experience compared to Jeb Kumar sir, Dr. James, and other, big, highly experienced people in this HR field, I have listed down some of the points here. In many organizations, as I see, employee has no access to personal data. For example, leave records, salary, data pertaining to him, attendance records, or promotional details, which are very much important for an employee to be accessed to. This is actually many highly reputed organizations will, they keep these records, for their as a confidential thing or something like that. So there must be, there is a need of, transparency in that one, and also this management decisions are based on whether management decisions are correct or not. To adjudge that one, these information should be kept open, and all these employees should be given actually free hand. See, this is the logic, and this is why you are promoted or not promoted. This is your record and things like that. And many of the times, many organizations, I think some of the organizations, well-developed organizations are doing well, but largely job descriptions are not scientific enough. Job descriptions of employees or line managers or maybe other things, it's not very clear. I think this will end up in a loss of focus and interest in the organizations. I think that is one area which we need to look at it. Then other one is absence of a good performance-based review system. Many organizations, they are not in a position to having a performance appraisal systems. I think this is also one area which we that is not a good practice. And employee development without his or her involvement, that is also not good. You take decision, maybe for example, children are not involved in decision making of a family. So what do they do today? They are small children, they say okay, but once they grow up, so slowly you will have to involve them in family decision making process. Similarly, the employees should be involved in each and every process of organization, so that they are they are well informed and they take the sense of ownership, and these things will go ahead. Then other one is anything which is unplanned. Unplanned is something very in a shabby manner they go ahead. I think that is not good for HR personnel. It should be planned well. Then also many organizations, highly talented people are they are kept in same positions for 5 years, 10 years, and these kind of things. Because you are good in this so-and-so position, you keep on doing like this. So you don't, kind of, understand the potentialities of that particular person and experiment with his or her experience in other aspects. I think keeping them resting of talent in one place is not a good practice. So long tenures will really damage organization as well as that particular person. So monotony, because of this monotony will come, and those people may leave the job and all. Then also there will be some kind of non-performers lobbying in an organization. That is also there. I think experts will speak more on this one. And also keeping performers, retaining performers in an organization is also challenging task. Sometimes a highly talented person will leave the job and go, and because they don't know, they don't realize the value of that particular person. It may be an educational organization, or maybe other organizations highly. That is also another thing. And not getting feedback from all streams, maybe all categories of employees. We need to have a feedback system. These things, lack of feedback is also not there. Then also this line manager should be involved in the system, because sometimes these people are not considered as a top management, part of the top management or the employees. So they are neglected sometimes. Though this is also another area. And also many older people, maybe older people, I remember our own people, our own seniors, they're having kind of a phobia, technology phobia. So they don't gear up themselves, or also they don't stand up with the new technology, the smartphones, and also this whatever the way we are talking now, online programs. So they don't value what is the use and how it's going to help and things like that. The technology phobia is also there amongst people. So these are the things which we need to. I think these are all the not good practices of HR. I think we should try to address these things. I take a few minutes only. I think in what is HR, in my view, recruitment is the most challenging task, and staffing in an organization is again a challenging task. Keeping people in the right places and fixing responsibilities. These are the. Then also deciding about the employee benefits. That is another area. Employee compensation is another area. And also relationship management within the organization is another challenging task. And HR compliance is another area. Organizational structure. Actually, this HR person, HR guy is overall in charge of the organizational structure. And if he has got a wonderful relationship with the management, he can design and also structure the organization, and maybe making changes here and there, and horizontal coordination, vertical coordination, these things. So these are all the important areas, and HR information should be really transparent, and everybody should know about everyone. Except some of the confidential things, you keep it open. People should know their own things. So people, as water finds its own levels on the ground, people also find their places. If somebody is doing well, I think he or she should be recognized and rewarded and things like that. So HR information should be kept open for each and everybody. And payroll, actually, payroll management is also very important. See, some people, non-performers are getting high salary, and performers are being neglected because of certain internal these things. Those things should be kept in mind when HR person is functioning. The competencies, for example, in HR field, it should be highly proficient, and communications skills should need to be improved. Maybe whatever the language, maybe somebody is not so good at English, so let them at least communicate in their own language. So there will be some interpreters and things like that. Nowadays, knowing local language is an asset. Knowing 5-6 languages is an asset. I come from one of the border districts. From the childhood, we learn 5-6 languages. Whether you go to school or not, that is the thing. But you learn your own mother tongue, you learn your village language, and also neighbors. And also, since I come from Tamil Nadu, Andhra border, so these 3 languages, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, they are part and parcel of the learning. And also English is and Hindi. So the 5 languages, at least in my case, I'm sharing. So these people should keep, people coming from other states, they should learn local language. Definitely they know English and Hindi, other things. So knowing language is an asset for an HR person. People coming from different states, if you speak to them, if you say hello in their own language, so you are winning their hearts. I think in that way, communication is should be part and parcel of this HR person. Leadership, of course, leadership. You will have to take a leadership of all the whatever the assignments and these things when come. So leadership you should exhibit, and if some challenging task comes, so it's an opportunity to show your leadership. Small task, your higher ups, maybe they will assign you some task. So people should think it's an opportunity for me to explore myself and also things like that. And you have to navigate your own team. I think the navigation part you have to take. Apart from all these things, ethical practices is another important area. It is definitely, it goes with an individual person. Integrity and ethical part is an integral part of any individual, especially HR people. They are the role model. Many people, they observe HR person. He is a role model actually. He is the leader in that particular company. So the ability to make a judgment and quick decisions, for example, I think our James Thomas is famous for making quick decisions. I really appreciate it because I've worked with him several times. He makes quick decisions and timely decisions and right decisions. I think those kind of taking quick decisions and taking your boss into confidence and also other your subordinates into confidence. If you take decisions without any bias, people will appreciate you. So there will be so many opportunities for HR person to take quick decisions. I think in that way, one has to practice this one. And the relationship, nowadays, relationship management has become a big area. Actually managing relations at family level, organizational level, and also the friends level also is very important. That has to be kept in mind, especially for HR persons. And also you need to see, maybe you are very senior or maybe other things. The consultation is one of the key area to have. You need to consult people, whether they say yes or no, that is secondary, but you need to consult people. So when you are consulting people on various issues and topics, so people think that yes, I've been given importance. See, so such a senior person has consulted me on these things. So I think consultation is another strategic area to do well in the HR field. Then critical evaluation. For this one, I think one should have a very big mind and kind of like Buddha says, equanimous mind. So critical evaluation, self-evaluation is one of the best method actually. And if somebody is highly matured enough, he or she should self-evaluate. That's why in our performance appraisal systems, we should evaluate ourselves, and that should set a trend. So when we are supposed to mark ourselves in 10-point scale, see you evaluate yourself, and similarly others also would follow like that. Critical evaluation method is one of the area we need to look at it. And also now entire globe and is fighting each other for a cultural reasons. My culture is greater than your culture is lesser than my culture. Things like this, cultural fights, cultural clashes, cultural conflicts, these are going on, and every tribe, every caste, every religion trying to build their culture as a great like that. I think we need to understand from cultural point of view, these when we are working with human population, people, so we must understand their cultural background and respecting their language, respecting their belief system. And if there's something irrational, then we try to work slowly. And suddenly you are taking decisions on cultural beliefs, that's going to damage the whole human resource system as such. I think basically the core functions would be staffing, development, compensation, and safety and health of people, employees, whichever the organization, then managing relationships. These are the main areas we need to look at it. And to consolidate my this inaugural address, I would like to, for younger people who are starting the career now, I would like to say they need to, because they need to learn from their elders, especially from J.B. Kumar, James, and Deen Dayal sir, and many other seniors are there. And having a lot of patience, listening to them, carefully listening to them and understanding, And these are the main qualities for a new HR people. And they have to, quality listening is going to fetch wonderful result actually. I think in that way, recruitment, there are several ways of recruitment. UNDP has got its own methodology. World Bank has got its own methodology. Other bilateral agencies have their own methodologies. And our own corporate agencies have their own methodologies. And we need to tailor ourselves, tailor our mind to suit to the conditions, tailor-made arrangements, and also some of the things, processes we should not forget. And hiring the right people for a right job is a most challenging task. How do you adjudge who is the right person for this so-and-so job? That is the task which HR person has to think. And this processing the payroll is also another important thing, because of paying compensation, looking at their talent and other things. Conduct disciplinary actions. That is also, any organization should not take lightly about taking disciplinary actions, because Andariki Manchuvadu Anantaramaya anta Telugalli chaptaru. So you need management or organization cannot be good with everybody, bad people, right people, and also you should do disciplinary action stringently and have that kind of thing. And always update policies, updating yourself, update policies, labor policies, Government of India changes policies, state government changes policies, and even some of the times the society itself will have a value system kind of a thing. So policy, individual policies should go in tandem with organizational policies, these kind of thing. Maintaining employee records is a very important thing. Maintaining employee records, that is another important thing. Then conduct benefit analysis. Benefit analysis is another area one has to think about it. The employees should feel that they have a growth in that organization, career growth intentions. Employees, a small organization or a bigger organization, they should be happy and that I have a career here in this organization and I can put forth myself, because any employee, he may be an individual who is working with an organization, but entire family is supporting, his wife, children, and everybody is supporting him. So in Europe and all, I have seen if they consider, in general, they consider if an employee, a person is working for any organization, that particular organization takes care of the entire family health benefits, and also their demands, their things and all, educational aspects, health aspects, economic aspects, all these things. Now in our country also, many corporate agencies are looking into these areas, but we need to look at this providing career growth to our own employees. Then offering a continuing education, we need to update them. They should not be left behind. So continuing education should be the practice. Training and supporting our lower people, or maybe even sometimes top management may not be, they are very highly focused with economic aspects, making profits and other things. Sometimes looking at the right time, we need to not educate, but at least bringing into their knowledge that things are going on like this, or this is the field, because they are experts in some fields, taking decisions and all. But looking at from a HR point of view, bringing all these people together to work with one another and reaching the organizational goals. So this is a overall developmental goals. So one has to think from these angles. And health and wellness is another important aspect. Nowadays, during this Corona time, everybody is really afraid of their own health and things like that. I think this webinar is going to throw a light on, great light on all these areas. I just touched upon some of the areas. I think J.B. Kumar sir and Dr. James and other Deen Dayal sir, all these people would enlighten more. And people, I'm observing many people are logging, they're maybe more nowadays. Our James has started Indian social work, a WhatsApp group. I think more than 250 people are there. I wish all of you and people who are very seniors, you have listened to me. And if I have said something, anything wrong, kindly excuse me. because practicing HR is not only in industries, it's there in educational sector, it's there in agricultural sector, it is there everywhere, organized sector, unorganized sector, and so I think we need to learn from you all. I think this webinar series should go on focusing on a particular areas. So I think our James is doing very well. He is bringing a name to our university as alumni president or MSW Socialites. I think all the seniors and Kumudini Achi, Venkatesh Murthy, everybody are supporting. So I very happily inaugurated this webinar series. I wish all of you a wonderful, healthy life, happy life, and let us try to catch up with the times and try to do whatever is possible from our individual ends and also in the organizational capacity wherever you are there. And let us not forget our social work principles, our methodologies and things like that. Slowly, sometimes we forget in our routine life, we forget social work principles. But definitely it is imbibed and it is within our mindset, it is there. Sometimes superficially they may not look like outside. So once again, I wish all the very best to all the participants. Thank you one and all. Jeb Kumar sir, Unni Krishnan sir, Venkatesh Murthy, Kumudini Achi, and James Srinivasa from Gulbarga.
Thank you, sir.
All the people. Sorry if I have not named people. Whenever I am familiar, I am just. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Shivappa, for your inaugural address, as well as very encouraging words. And you spoke like a director HR of a company, not a educational head. I think probably university has taken the right decision to put you as the registrar of the University of Mysore because of your HR background. Thank you so much for inaugurating. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got another program just beside here. I'm in Vignan Bhavan of our Mysore University. One of our senior colleague is retiring. Our vice chancellor is waiting for me. It is really sorry. So I'm exiting from this one. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Without much ado, our technical session would start now. I request everyone to be attentive, and Mr. Dean will ask questions on a random basis. As you know, this is going to be an interactive session and not a monologue. Let me introduce Mr. Dean. Mr. Dean Dayalan is the founder and founder of CEO, and he will talk on what is HR and what is not HR. Mr. Dean, alias Dean Dayalan, as he is affectionately called, works with the less privileged and in growing them to extraordinary talents with the help of his team. His team's extensive research and route hiring resulted in a new business model, under hire for overperformance in varied leading Indian corporates and multinationals. Tapping native intelligence who have no rubber stamps or great schooling background is a great asset, and a raw natural talent who can become extraordinary is the need of the hour to build aspirational growth. Hence, Mr. Dean says, no blue or white collar, but only career collar. He has no shame to admit that he failed in the 9th standard and PUC in Tamil and physics, and that is the reason he is advocating mother tongue value. His forte is TEI, total employee involvement, with high degree of ownership to customer expectations. HR should build and not buy, and talent customization results in higher productivity, personal growth, and social citizenry. He says he's a failed student and remains unsuited for the educated crowd, both in dressing and in action, and more suited for the less rubber stamp talents. He founded CEO, Customer, Employees, Owner, or Organization in 1998. And over 28 years, and his teams have impacted organizations like GE, Corning, Saint-Gobain, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and the name goes on, all big multinational companies. His graduation is from the bottom of the pyramid leaders in Metur Bransell, NTTF, Titan, ITC, and DuPont. He had a short stint in Fenner in Madurai. His unlearning journey started in DuPont, and his rubber stamps came from Sociology Department, Annamalai University, Law degree from Madras Law College, and PG from Madras School of Social Work. His team perfected the Learn, Earn and Grow model, and more than 25,000 people have benefited from the municipal schools of India, and nearly 5,000 of them have grown beyond imagination. And the Zero to Hero stories indicate the power of bottom of the pyramid, not only in India, but in Nigeria, Ghana, Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Hong Kong, and Singapore. May I present Mr. S. Deenadayalan, founder and CEO. Over to you, sir. You have 1 hour time. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. That was a resume which I don't deserve because I don't believe resumes reflect the reality. And I think Registrar has more or less spoken, and I don't know whether I need to speak. But having agreed to speak, let me, of course, I would agree with 30% of what Registrar spoke. 70% I have a differing viewpoint. I'm not saying I'm right, but I have a differing viewpoint. And this is a dialogue session. While I'm going to share my gray-hair wisdom, in reality, I'm quizzing all of you for my unlearning. More for my unlearning, little more selfish. And preferably, I would like more students to respond. And when the registrar was speaking on what is HR and what is not HR, I would like any one of the student. I thought I will first look for a volunteer before I call them by name. Any volunteering student would like to say what is HR, what is not HR? Please unmute and speak. There is no assessment. Maybe Dr. James, you should now pick up a student and call.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
I am Abid Ali Khan from National School of Business.
Excellent, Abid. Please.
In my perspective, a HR focusing only on the organizational objectives and leaving the objectives of an employee is not HR. He should be balancing both the objectives of an employee and an organization. Both should be fruitful in content.
Excellent. I think we should congratulate Abid Ali for really speaking that balance between people and business. It's an excellent way of starting the whole conversation. I personally believe frontline produces the bottom line, not the top managers. People at the bottom of the pyramid produces the bottom line or business profitability. And I'm extremely happy we started with a good students' response. And our labor laws needed to manage labor. Especially everybody is now talking about labor codes and labor amendments and all that stuff. I'd like one of the students to respond. Are labor laws needed to manage labor?
Yes, sir. Labor laws are definitely needed because if someone comes to you with some problem, then you need to know which law responds to that in order to help them out.
The moment you know the law, you forget the business. You try to the person. If you don't know the law, you find a solution. So I'm going to slightly differ. You need to have a knowledge of labor law, but never apply labor law. In my last 30 years of experience, I have never applied labor law. Okay, because we are dealing with people. Not this is something I'm going to be a little controversial, but as we go along, we'll talk about it.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Please.
Sir, if you don't use labor laws, how will you manage the conflicts among employees, sir?
Is the law only way for managing conflict?
No, sir, but if there's any legal issue, how will you handle it, sir?
That is post-mortem. Can we pre-design, pre-mortem, and see how we can bring in processes to create engagement in a way that most of the issues are inclusive and solved? It's not an easy one, it's a challenge. You asked a very valid question, but law should be the last resort. I'll come to that in the end when I'm connecting the dots, but law should be the last resort. But please know law. but don't
Okay.
apply law.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Knowing is different from applying. I'm glad you asked a very interesting question. The third question is, what is 95% and 5% principle in HR? It's a little difficult to respond, I understand. But anybody has thought through? Karthik, Ganesh, I'm just picking up names.
So it's
Because I'm not able to identify who's a student. So
Sharat Chandra, sir. Sir, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, Sharat, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. It's actually the updated version of 80-20 rules, where you do, where they say 20% of the workforce give you 80% of the generate the business also. This is the updated version of 95% rules.
Okay. Partly right. I have a slightly differing thought. In most organizations, we have 90%, 95% positive people. There'll be 5% people who are not positive. But all our energies are spent on these 5% people who are negative. And that's where the law, the legal application, all that comes. And these 5% convert 95 into more. Why are you not investing in the 95% positive people in the organization? If you look at all our rules, standing orders, everything is based on this 5% of people. And in any organization, even in our families, there will be some people who are not happy. But are we going to put our energies on the minority, or are we going to put our energies on the majority? So please apply your, this 80-20 principle won't apply here. I would put the reverse. Put 80% of efforts on the 95% of the people, and just 20% effort on 5% of the people. The more you ignore the negligence, if a child falls, if you ignore the child will get up and walk. But the moment you start attending to the child will cry. So many times what we don't do is we try to make a lot of, you should not form a union, you should not do that. We make him more important and he becomes more troublesome. Whereas we have outstanding positive people in every organization, hardly 5% of people are not positive. So why don't we as HR practice positivity with the 95%? Then law becomes secondary. Okay. The fourth question is, what is your thoughts on, the registrar touched this in some form, but I want to put it in a formula, half into 2 into 3 and 2 plus 2 plus 2. Anybody, I also said connect this to your mother and grandmother. Can anybody think this, respond to this trigger? Any student? The answer need not be right or wrong, because I don't think I have the right answer. But Risa did speak about it. Dr. James, can you pull a student?
Shruti Senthil, Priyanka, please unmute and speak.
No, sir, we aren't aware of this.
Okay. Somebody from St. Aloysius, Mangalore.
Anybody from St. Aloysius?
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
This is Karthik, sir.
Yes, Karthik, speak.
Is it, thank you, sir. Is it between delegation of authorities or accumulation of authorities? Is it relation to that, sir?
Okay. Delegation, accumulation, partly right. Somewhere connect to mother and grandmother. Is your grandmother multitasked or multi-skilled?
Multi-skilled, sir.
What does that mean? Has she studied HR? Has she studied marketing? Has she studied supply chain? Has she studied any of those subjects?
Not exactly, sir.
She is able to handle multiple roles depending on the situation.
True.
True. So what is happening to most of us, we are in a very strong domain role and we are not able to appreciate the other roles. So when Registrar was talking about this is about 2 + 2 + 2. All of us, whether you are in HR discipline or any other discipline, should be able to work in another discipline, another location. Assuming you are from Karnataka, you should work in Assam. The reason why I am saying is when you handle multiple cultures, your capability goes up. Okay. And therefore, 2 locations, 2 products, 2 disciplines will enhance, like your grandmother, multitask. Today's mothers may not be as multitask as grandmothers, but please remember our native wisdom taught us this multitasking. In each situation, she will know which shop to buy. Today we all go to Big Bazaar to buy. She will know which time to buy what, when to stock in inventory. We call it as inventory management. Okay. And what products at what season we should buy. All these are what in the organization we use a lot of jargons with the MBA or various other principles, but these are all common sense. And somewhere we are all so domain focused and silo focused. Therefore, in the first question somebody asked, how do you resolve a conflict? We are creating structurally a conflict, then try to solve a conflict. So structurally, if we can work out a 2 + 2, then second one is especially in the COVID time, it has beautifully demonstrated this off into 2 into 3. This today COVID has made us to now all of us are talking through Zoom, which we did not think 6 months ago, and many non-value adding work has been now eliminated thanks to COVID. Okay, so if you really look at the way every organization is managed, of the work what we are doing is not required. And we need to look at 2 times better work and 3 times productivity. So every organization should shed off the knowledge what they have. Every year we should shed. What was good for last year may not be good for this year. And COVID has outstandingly brought this out. Okay. And today we are able to run industries. We are working from home, and many organizations have closed their offices, which we not even think of. So are we really looking at this off into 2 into 3 as part of our DNA? We need to constantly think, what will we shed? What will we add? This is beautifully illustrated in our philosophy, the word God. Generate, destroy. If I put it in Hindu mythology, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Brahma generates, Vishnu operates, Shiva destroys. So we need to continuously evolve, generate ideas, that idea, destroy that idea, and bring in a new idea. So this is something which all young students should continuously think of. But if I am going to say I have an experience, I have a gray hair, that's the biggest nonsense. Gray hair is not a wisdom. Gray hair is not a virtue, because I will only speak from my past is not a reality today. My past experiences in today's COVID is not going to be useful. So this is something all of us should be unlearning. I'm making this appeal to all gray hair friends of mine also. Experience is not a virtue. And we need to reverse mentor with the youngsters, value the youngsters, and look at the technology savvy. And Richard was speaking about it. Shall I go to the next question? It's a very interesting question. Role of bias and analytics in HR management. Any student would like to answer this? Because I'm going to contradict this in question 10.
Any students, please speak up.
I want to do interactive. Do we understand bias?
See, there is no right or wrong answer. Please speak up.
Okay, if no student is volunteering, we are now speaking about analytics. Okay, when analytics is highly head oriented. Bias is heart oriented. should we have head orientation or a heart orientation? Let me rephrase this question.
Heart, sir.
Okay. In the heart, my
Mr.
likes and dislikes play a
Mr.
role.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Dean. Your voice is
Community.
cracking.
I don't like. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it okay now?
Yeah.
We all have our own biases. And we wear a spectacle and see people from spectacle what we wear. If I wear a black glass, I see people black. If I wear a green glass, I see. So bias has a limitation. But there's something called positive bias. For example, in the retail industry, they prefer or for that matter, Grameen Bank, Mohammad Yunus said women are more credit worthy. Can anybody say that? That's a positive bias. Women are more God-fearing. Integrity is far higher. I'm saying majority. Okay. Men sometimes take it for granted. But if you put an analytics filter, then it will not see this positive bias. So the balancing of head and heart is very, very important. Where we should use a positive bias, where you should analytics is a very important part for every HR student. Can I go to the next question? Very fundamental question I'm going to ask, is education needed for HR?
Sir, it may require, sir.
Okay.
It may require in some times of being like studying purpose or otherwise like it can used for in any work experience, sir. By having a work experience, right?
Okay. Our definition of education is what? Academic excellence?
Sir, yes, sir. By academic excellence and as well as like skill oriented, sir.
Okay. I want to slightly differ with all of you. When India did not know English, we were the highest exporting country in the world. And now I want to correlate this data. I don't want to talk about the past glory. Look at all non-English speaking countries in the world, be it Europe, be it Asia Pacific. Their export quotient is far higher than the import quotient. They don't speak English. And look at all the English speaking countries in the world, including India. Our import quotient is higher than the export quotient. China can sell a Ganesha in Bombay, a kite in Ahmedabad, a refurbished shoe in Nigeria. Because the ability to take risk, which our education is not teaching us. We are not taught risk taking. Okay. We are chasing 100% marks, academic excellence. I wish Richard was here to listen to this. Okay. Take Switzerland, for example. They are number one in the global skill index, but they don't give much importance to education. Okay. We give a lot of importance to education, 100 marks. And you know where we are in the global skill index? We are 92 or 93. Somewhere we are not tapping native intelligence in the name of education. Excellence, not application excellence. So this is something very tightrope walking, tight balancing we need to look at. All your operators at the shop floor are more knowledgeable than most of us are. But we condemn them as blue collar. Am I making you to think slightly differently? If I may be wrong, but I want you to think slightly differently. So education has a limited value. We are talking for the last 30 years, but today Ernst & Young and Google are saying education is not required. And the moment Google says, EY says, you will all accept it. A poor social work student like me says, you will not accept it. Okay. So this is something I want you to keep in mind. Education as a limitation, application as a tremendous value. So today's education is not application oriented. So keep this in mind. When you are in organization, you have to be application oriented, not whatever subjects you have learned. Yes, that knowledge is important, but beyond that, what is the context you are working? What should we do in that context? Well, what works in one organization will not work in another organization. So we need to keep this dimension in your mind. Okay, next question. This is an important question. What is asked and which letter in ask is more important?
Excuse me, sir.
Cash?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, one clarification, sir. Could you please
Yes,
guide
Karthik.
me? Yes, sir. Could you please guide? So a parameter which we can understand apart from academics, or how to, while recruiting, how to know whether he's really much application oriented. So what parameter do you choose, or have you applied so that we can learn?
I use simply games. You put a person in a gaming situation, create a group task exercise. Okay. Ask him to work in a team. You will see whether he is really lazy or whether he is taking initiative, whether he is giving ideas, whether he is participating, is accepting other person's ideas, whether it's including, whether in an half-an-hour interview, if you can speak good English, you get it selected. Whereas in a game situation, your natural talent comes out. Otherwise, what happens is your dramatized talent comes out in interview. You put a tie, die, and a lie in the interview. Sorry for using the word, but your originality doesn't come in the interview. In fact, whenever a resume comes, I put it in the dustbin. I want to look at the person. How does he behave in a group? How does he understand the family relationships? How are the sibling relationships? We need to look at something far beyond. We land up collecting people than selecting people. There are a lot of dimensions. I would ask about grandmother. I would ask about the parents, where there's a DNA component in it. So these are all not taught in the schools or colleges. Okay. So we'll go to the next question. Maybe we can offline talk, Karthik. I have no issues.
Thank you, sir.
What is asked and which letter in ask is more important?
Ask stands for attitude, skills, and knowledge, sir. A
Yeah.
is very much important because
Which
if
one?
a person, A is very much
Which one is more
important,
important?
attitude is important.
Absolutely. So I strongly believe select for attitude, skill and knowledge can be built. But we select for skill and knowledge, we don't look for attitude. We don't need brilliant people. But we can have ordinary people, make them brilliant. So that is something which is very, very important. We don't put our efforts on attitude. No selection process works at the attitude. It all talks about instruments and all that. I'll come to that next. So there are ways and means of measuring attitude. You can offline discuss with me, but attitude is the critical part. And that comes from the family genes, environment, and the way you are brought up. And it can be also cultivated, nurtured. Can we go to the next question, please? Are psychometric tools adequate and accurate? And try to use them for selection. Jawab, pardon me for the question.
That's fine, Gene.
Any student?
So psychometric tools may not be 100% accurate, but they may be helpful for a HR to take a decision about the personality of a person who is going through a selection procedure.
I don't think we should use psychometric tool for selection. You can use it for development.
Okay, sir.
This is my humble view. And all the psychometric tools as plus and minuses, I'm sure I'm creating a controversy here.
Yes.
My unlearning happened when I went to United States, and they told me go back to India and learn Gurukula. Somebody in United States had to tell me learn Gurukula. And that Gurukula tells you the inner intrinsic aspect of the human being. And all these tools talk about the extrinsic aspect. So there's an interesting dimension to it. Yeah, it does help in development. Plus, we may reject a good candidate by using this tool in selection. Resumes don't reflect reality, your comments. All of us make resumes. They don't reflect reality, your comments. Dr. James read my resume. Tell me that's not reality. When we write a resume, we try to beauty parlor it. We go to a beauty parlor called Naukri or Shine. If we cannot write a resume, we pay some 1,500 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees. They make a resume, which is not what you are. You try to project what you are not. I don't think we need to project ourselves. Let us accept what we are and say that's what social work teaches us. Accept people as they are. I know this, I do not know this. Nothing wrong about it. It's not necessary to know everything. And many times we try to make a beautiful resume, but we don't reflect our own self. Especially in the interviews, you should say, sir, these are areas I'm very strong at. Make the interviewer to ask you questions on the areas where you are strong at. Don't make the interviewer to ask questions where he is strong at. Most of the interviewers talk about where he is strong at. So somewhere in your resume building, look at your strengths, work around your strengths. And wherever you are not good, please say you're not good. I learn it. Nothing wrong about it. That's where your attitude comes. Maybe 1 or 2 places you may get rejected. Don't get disheartened. But your authenticity will take you in the long run. Okay, now another controversial point I'm bringing in. Robotic, this is controversial, contradicting the question 5. Robotic HR boss is better than human HR boss. Humanoid is going to take over HR roles. Any student want to comment on this? For example, Mahindra is using humanoid in most of the transactions of HR. I would like any student to respond to this.
Sir, however, the work may be done by the robotics, but the final decision should be taken by the human person who is handling it the higher level, right? So we can't have it.
But now a lot of research in the Western world is saying a robotic boss is better because he goes by data. The decision making is data by data. Okay. And most of us, our decision making is not by data.
Yes, sir, we'll be missing some human touch in taking decision.
So the balance is all transactional can be robotics. All transformational has to be human. But many times, if you look at India, 90% of the HR job is transactional.
Okay.
The registrar also talking about management, there's other things. So all transactional can be robotics, but transformational has to be. I'll come to that. The last point when I'm going to sum up these issues, I'll talk about that. Question 11. I'm going to play a small quiz on this. Why is our mind automated? I would like all of you to raise your hand, please. Raise your hand.
Mr. Dean,
When
your
I
question
said
was not
please
clear.
raise your hand, can all of you raise your hand? Wherever you are, please raise your hand. Okay. When I said raise your hand, which hand went up?
Left.
Left.
Which hand went up?
Left.
Right hand, sir.
Right, sir.
Most of us, the right hand went up. Okay. But hand does not mean right hand. Okay. So what is happening to our mind is so conditioned. So conditioned, first question is, why should I raise my hand is the first question, which is what the child will ask. Okay. But our teachers have taught us not to ask questions. So we don't question the status quo. And we accept any bullshit like Deen Dayalan. We need to start questioning the status quo and say, what you are saying is not right. I'm going to disagree with you. I have a different viewpoint of view. And also don't be automated. There's no ready-made answers. And we are all taught A for apple. But look at our beauty of the ancient language. All our alphabets are linked to values. And English alphabets are linked to materialism. Therefore, when I say name a flower, you will immediately say rose. But you know, we have more than 200 Indian flowers, but we don't remember that. Our mind is so conditioned. So our mind is mostly automated thanks to the English knowledge. And therefore, we are not creative in our thinking. We are not using our native intelligence. Okay. Another interesting question. How long one should work as a blue collar? Because every industry has a lot of blue collar employees. How long one should work as a blue collar?
Until the one enjoys his jobs.
Why should there be a blue collar at all? I'm not talking about titles. HR is known for creating a blue collar as an officer title. I'm not talking about that. Tell me, does a beggar have an aspiration?
Yes, sir, he has.
Yes, sir.
So every human being has an aspiration, but we think aspiration is only for managers. We don't invest in blue collar, and we say we land up with a bad supervisor and lost a good worker. But what have we invested? If you look at the training budget, any organization, our investment will be more on the white collar than. Okay. So in my own experience, I'm going to share my experience. I work now more than 30,000 government school students of India. They all studied in mother tongue in different parts of the state. In Karnataka, if you go to Strides Pharma, they all are from interior Karnataka, rural Karnataka. 5 years ago, they started as a blue collar employee without a degree. Okay. Then we tied up with some university, they got a degree and all. Today, after 5 years, they are all assistant manager quality or assistant manager production. And the power of native intelligence is so high. And I prefer government school students to other students for the simple reason, these government schools have no infrastructure. Don't say Abdul Kalam studied in a government school. Those days are gone. Today's government school have no infrastructure. And most come from a difficult background. Parents do not have the means or broken homes. So this kid with all that is getting 40%. Then a CBSE student with a parental pampering gets 100%. Who is better? 100% of a CBSE student or a 40% of a government school student?
40% of a government school.
Absolutely. No, the ability of this student to take on challenges is far higher. We are not looking at that. So when I say, how do you select people and all, please look at this. This person has gone through all the constraints at the early age of 14, 13, 12, whereas most of us, our children are all pampered. They won't take a bus to go to a destination. They want a two-wheeler or they want the parents to drop in a car. So somewhere this is a very important dimension we need to look at when we look at blue collar or white collar. In my dictionary, there's nothing called blue collar or white collar. When I'm talking about this 30,000 people, 5,000 so-called blue collar government school students are today vice president and president. The president HR of Rolls-Royce, maybe you should invite him. He's a 10th standard, 12th standard past blue collar employee of a DuPont 20 years ago. He added rubber stamps. Today he is the president HR. Okay. And every blue collar employee in India is capable of that. This is what we did 400 years ago. That is the power of our native intelligence. That I always, grandma is not educated, but she's better than us. She can't speak English. Okay. Now, James, how long is the time? Am I exceeding my time?
No, we can. We have time.
I can finish the 20 questions.
Yes, please.
Sir?
Are unions necessary and why management cannot reach the employees without union?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Karthik.
Hello? I want some other student answer.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Are unions necessary and why management cannot reach the employees without union?
It's a question, sir. Can I?
Yeah, please.
So when at the end of the day, when people are more significant than strategies, so how an HR will be able to answerable to the management when questioned to this point, sir? So what will help him?
I will connect that with a valid question, Karthik. I'll connect that to the last. It's a valid question. I'll connect that to the last. Can I go to in 13? I saw some names from Madras School of Social Work. Anybody?
Sir, can you repeat the question back, sir?
Are unions necessary, and why managements cannot reach the employees without union?
Sir, it is very necessary, sir, because like it is used for many advantageous purposes in union. So it is useful to reach union with the management perspective view that it is kind of like a cost management efficiency, and it's kind of like a healthy firm and healthy union decision making between the management as well as in the trade unions, sir, as well as a formal communication between the employee as well as an employer, sir.
Excellent, Abhishek. I have a slightly differing perspective. I'm not against union. I have a lot of union friends. If we are not connected to people, they are connected to union.
Yes, sir.
Where is management? As a management, we must be connected to our own employees.
Yes, sir.
If you are not going to be connected to them, why are they going to? They will not go to the union. So we as HR sometimes try to exploit or sometimes try to be unfair, and that results in saying, oh, we don't believe. If we do a small interesting survey, HR gets hated by many.
Yes, sir. Because like previously I had experience as a blue collar worker, sir. I have worked for Renault-Nissan, sir, as a blue collar employee. Over there, we used to go to the trade union as well as we have to reach the management also. Over there, like kind of like the HR will be always frequently visiting, not an HR. The IR frequently visits the trade union to reach what and all sorts to be recognized, and then you'll go directly to the chairperson or the management crew to explain what and all the pros and cons is going on with the employees which they are facing in the management side. So these are all the things I learned it, and I was like, whoa, the question which has been arised from you at that sudden time, I replied for you, sir.
No, you're absolutely right, Abhishek. The interesting part is, in the beginning of our careers, we don't invest on the 95%.
Yes, sir.
And that's how this 5% becomes troublesome.
Yes.
Okay. And the moment we start investing, let the union be formed, nothing wrong about it. Yes, but sir, the credibility than the union. Okay. If I go to HR, my issue will be solved. The employee should feel. If the employee feels if I go to union, my issue will be solved, then there's something wrong. You understand where I'm coming from? I'm not against union. Please don't mistake me.
No, not at all, sir.
We need to understand that my HR is authentic.
Yes, sir.
If there is a genuine issue, they'll solve it. If there's an issue which is not genuine, they will not justify. HR sometimes will not give the direct answer. They'll try to beat around the bush. So candor, authenticity is an important part. So that please reach to 95% of the people. Nothing to do about union or no union. Okay. Question.
Mr. Dean, there is an issue. Frequently your voice is getting cracked.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because of the internet connection.
Yeah,
or
maybe. Yeah.
If possible, you can use your earphone, sir.
Oh, sorry, I don't have an earphone with me now.
Okay, no problem, sir. No problem.
Please continue, sir.
Okay. If you are conviction led, you can't survive in HR. A very difficult question to answer. If you are conviction led, you can't survive in HR.
Sir?
Anybody would like to answer this?
Sir?
Yeah. Yes,
yeah, yes, sir. I've heard this statement from a lot of people. If you're honest enough, you can't survive in not just in HR, in this today's corporate world.
Yeah.
So if you have your own values, own principles, that won't work today. They say it so, but I don't think that's the thing. We can survive.
Yeah, that calls for a important aspect called thought leadership. Small example. I was part of when my unlearning happened. The chief inspector of factories was coming to the plant, and DuPont had a highest safety standard in the world. So anybody coming to the factory without shoes will not be allowed. And this chief is a very egoist person. As a typical HR at the age of 45, I went to my boss and said, "Sir, please make an exception for this chief inspector factories to come to the factory." My boss was an American. All American sarkar is seen. I think absolutely. What we probably do is we'll find another HR person who can make the chief inspector wear shoes. What do you find another job? It's a very simple issue. Okay. And that made me think. So then I rang up all my HR. My boss says, and the inspector. Then I had to find an innovative solution. So I went to the chief inspector's house that evening. Said, my employees are not wearing shoes. Take a class on wearing shoes. So when I'm saying conviction, we have to find in a context, we need to find alternatives. We need to find answers. It is easy to succumb to pressure, and most of us succumb to pressure. HR is the most important conduit for corruption. For using this word, we succumb to pleasing labor department. We succumb to pleasing various people. Can we find ways and means of doing it? Okay. It is difficult, not easy, but we need to find ways and means of standing by conviction. If you are convinced you are right, what will be the worst case? You will lose your job, but you are competent to find another job. Okay. Next question.
Sir,
HRS, yeah, yes, please.
sir, I have a question regarding what you've said right now, succumbing to corruption. So my father is actually an HR. He's the HOD HR, and he has told me that. So he works in a public sector undertaking. So he has told me that a lot of times there are people who come for audit, and then even if they find something or the other, some or the other way to ensure that they get the money back. So in such situations, if the company doesn't comply to whatever their needs are, then they make sure that these people target those employees, and then ensure that these people get problems because of the rules that they've made. So the labor enforcement officers and all of those. So in these cases, what do you think is right? So if we start to maybe feel that we are not going to comply to whatever your needs are, and then we take a stand, isn't it that our work gets hindered in the later stages, because he'll be targeting us, and some or the other way he'll just make sure that the law is we are not following the law, or he just frames us in a position. So what is your take on that?
I think you brought in a very interesting perspective. I handle some similar situation. Yes, there's going to be a temporary nuisance value, and in the initial stages, if they know that this organization is not corruptible, come online. But in the initial stages, you fall prey for it. Then you have added for ages. Yes, we need to fight it out. It sometimes delays your project. It sometimes puts pressure on the top management, but the conviction of the top management is also very, very important. And the way you influence the top management, there's going to be a week delay. And also, please find out why are we giving a loophole to them in the compliance. In many of this, to all technology available, it's 99% possible to avoid this loopholes. Okay, and even assuming you have made a mistake, better own it up. What is the worst case scenario? They can't take you to jail. They will do a penalty of a fine. Face that than bribing. This is a very difficult call. At least my career I have survived. I'm not saying everybody can survive, but personally I feel I can with all confidence say I have not paid a single by corruption.
Yes, sir.
So,
yeah.
So one question to be asked from me, sir, Abhishek, sir. Sir,
Yes, Abhishek.
Sir, how is the statutory compliance is very much convinced with the trade union part, sir? Whether the statutory compliance is very much convinced with the trade union as well as with the management, sir?
I didn't get your question. Is the organization complying and the trade unions are complying is the question? Or
Yes.
is there something separate for trade unions for statutory compliance, separate for the organization?
No, sir. The first one, sir. First one, whatever you said, that point, sir.
See, statutory compliance is universal. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Violation is also universal.
Yes, sir.
So look at overtime. Most of us are violating the overtime. Okay. So this is again, this is where I come from. Switzerland has 4 days work week. Okay. 6 days week, 7 days, 100 in the skill index. Switzerland has 4 days work. They are number 1 in the skill index. So somewhere we are missing on the thought leadership. So we try to do shortcuts, then have overtime. So we are not deep into the processes. We don't go into the depth of the whole thing, the application part of it. And then we find various means and means of short circuiting it. So I'm not a fan of Switzerland and all that. In India, we have done it in many companies. So I'm just telling you, somewhere because we are not application oriented, we find easy solutions. Can I go to the 16th question? Is Taylor's model of division of labor relevant today? The registrar was talking about job description, all that. I have to differ with him. Today, you don't need a job description. Okay. The whole job ethos are changing. Okay. Is division of labor required? Taylor did this division of labor in 1920s. I'm sure all of you know who Taylor is.
Yes, sir.
Put the F.W.
Father
Taylor,
of modern
sir.
management. Yeah, father of modern management.
Yes, sir.
He brought this concept called division of labor. Is it relevant today?
No, sir.
Yeah, you're right. It's not relevant today.
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
This is where your application has to happen. I'll give a small example. If you are in a manufacturing, if there is a boiler, there should be a boiler certified person. Okay. You know, this act was brought in the early 30s and 40s for safety. Okay. And now do a little bit of root cause analysis. This boiler certification, how does it happen? Anybody who has 2 years experience, he sits for a government exam, he passes. Okay. That doesn't mean safety is guaranteed. Look at all the accidents that have taken place. Okay. So we are so certificate oriented, we are not application oriented. Am I trying to reach you? So when we are looking at all the processes in which you as HR are working, look at all the processes, see what is application orientation. While we legally we need to get him certified, what we do is we get 20% of the people certified, but only deploy 2 people or 3 people. Otherwise, this person does not have 8 hours of work, he becomes idle. And then it becomes devil's workshop. Okay. So this division of labor has also killed us. We are not looking at the work in a holistic process. We are looking at work in compartments. So every value adding process should have multi-skill. This is something as HR we need to really look at. Then if you really start looking at it, you will see you can operate most of your plants at 40%, 60%, or 80% of your plant size. We are doing a lot of repetitive, non-value adding, and blame it on the statutory, blame it on the past. We don't question the status quo. Yesterday is not a reality, today is a reality. Okay. Can I go to the next question? 4 more questions. Artificial intelligence, bots, machine learning, IoT are going to disconnect human touch. Your comments, please.
Students, please respond quickly.
Yes, sir. Can I, sir?
Yeah, please. Yes, Karthik. I have only Karthik and Abid Ali and Abhishek speaking anyway, it's okay. Yeah, yes, Karthik.
This is like, does that not mean we are staring back, like we are going back?
Karthik, your voice is cracking.
Okay, let me repeat, sir. So I just was questioning and I had a thought. So if at all we skip text and such things, does that not mean we are driving back without steering? So does that comparatively mean it?
Okay, let me put this question slightly differently. Look at what happens in your house. Everybody has a mobile phone. Everybody is on the mobile phone. There is no family touch. Correct or not?
Exactly, sir. It happens.
And Chetan Bhagat came out with a very beautiful article 3-4 days ago. Somewhere as society, especially as social work professional, we need to really look at this. Where is our human touch? Yes, we need technology. Please remember, let us have mental inside and intel outside. All of us are having intel inside and mental outside. I'm not against technology, please. I'm talking to you through technology. But balancing between mental and intel is very, very important. And technology is going to play a very crucial role in all of us, but not at the cost of human touch. And this is something as a social work professional, we must be. COVID is important, capability or capability. More so, the role of social work education in this context. Is capability important or capability important?
Both, sir.
Yes, Tamanna.
Both are important, sir.
Now, which is more important?
Capability.
I go with
Absolutely.
capability, sir. Yes.
Today, for want of a cinema theater choice, our capability quotient is going down. Okay. All of us are capable, highly capable. We are technologically savvy, we are highly capable, but our capability quotient is going down. And therefore, today the social work application has to be very, very strong in industries, because all of us have to be accepting each other, tolerating each other, and our capability has to definitely go higher and higher. If not, all of us will end up in some sort of a depression or a disaster or a business loss. So it's very, very important to keep this in mind. The 19th question is a very, very important. I'm sure my senior HR colleagues may feel bad with me. Are HR managers busyness managers or business managers? They're always busy. They're always busy. But are they adding value to business? And as young students, what is your contribution to business? That is more important. You manage people, but are you also contributing to business?
Yes, sir. We are contributing to business.
Give me an example.
Like initially, HR is called as the cost center of the company. So nowadays, it's not whatever we may produce. The employees are the ones who are gonna deliver the final results, or who are gonna engage in the growth of the company. So we are the ones who are going to develop.
I'm talking about HR.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about HR.
Yes, sir. I'm come to the point. We are the one who are going to develop the employees, who are going to engage them. HRs are the one who are going to make them.
Absolutely. When you say you are going to engage them, what do you mean by that?
Work them more, make them more productive.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. Dhoni is being retained as a captain for 2021 for IPL. The entire world is against it. Is it correct or not correct?
It is based on the club, sir. It's based on the club. Whatever may be the.
No, forget the club. It's a leadership issue. Please forget the club. It's a leadership issue.
So it depends upon his age and his
No, Dhoni
productivity
is going
in
to
the
be
team.
one more year older, 2021.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Its agility has come down. All cricket pundits have said wrong. But I feel what they have done is right. Because we need to invest in talent. 1 or 2 failures are going to happen. Permission to fail is not taught to us. We want antibiotics. We don't treat Ayurvedic. The solution is not antibiotic. Because somebody fails, we don't throw them out. A known devil is better than an unknown angel. So leadership is all about investing in talents. It takes time. And it calls for guts. When the entire world is saying Dhoni should be sacked, CSK has taken a decision, he'll be the 2021 captain. I'm not going to the right or wrong of it. Please invest in your talent, because all your talents are bound to make mistakes. That's okay. But please invest in your talent. That is business partnering. Okay. Not saying PMS, I'll sack him, he has not performed. why has not performed, what is the root cause, what can we do, how to make them do that is something what we need to really look at. I'm a little radical, I'm sorry about it. Who is the HR manager? Reflect. But I'll tell you, there are 10 T's. If we can keep these 10 T's, very, very important. We can make a note or I can send it to you. The first T starts with trust. The first and the best starts with the selection and not collection. If the trust building is established, rest all fall in line. Trust is the best. Okay. And the last is training. I'm going to use 10 T's. First is trust, last is training. Training does not add value. I'm again controversial. Okay. Somebody can ask me why training does not add value. I'll come to that. The second T is team. I spoke to you about team 2 plus 2 plus 2. Team is going to be the important part. The third T is technology. In today's context, technology is an inevitable evil, but we need to work with it. Technology should be your slave. Don't be the slave of technology. The fourth T is transactional to transformational. Please don't be in transactional. Be in transformational. What have we created? What is the change you have brought about? In the lives of the human beings, in the lives of the business, in both. Okay, not in transactional aspect. The fifth T is try. Reinvent Taylor. Don't accept status quo. Reinvent Taylor. The sixth T is a thought leadership. We don't have thought leadership. I'm sorry for saying this. What is thought leadership? I'll give a small example. Who is the competitor for Coca-Cola?
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
No, sir.
99% of you will give wrong answer. Because of the time I'm quickly passing through. Your stomach is the competitor for Coca-Cola. Because if you look at the market share in the stomach, what is the percentage of market share? If you look at Pepsi as a competitor, what is the percentage of market share? Do you see a difference? So we need to think. Our thought leadership has to be very, very unique. We need to constantly think differently. If you don't think differently, we'll be sailing in the state. Time management is a very, very important aspect. Otherwise, we'll be in busyness management, not in business management. Okay. Then trigger. Please, trigger is a very, very important aspect. What I'm trying to do with all of you is triggering. Unconventionally triggering your thinking. And every blue-collar employee in your organization has outstanding capability. Trigger him in Kannada, trigger him in Telugu, trigger him in Hindi. Get the best out of him. Make him feel involved, make him feel inclusive. So we don't use trigger. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Pressure, sorry. Yes, Karthik.
Can I put something? So how could we understand the difference between trigger and exploitation, sir? Does that anywhere relate?
I didn't understand. Get the question between.
So kindly throw some light or make us understand about triggering and exploiting, sir. Should we draw a line and how?
Okay. What is exploiting? Exploiting. Define exploiting. If you are using, you please define exploiting.
Using someone's effort and not paying them appropriately, or using someone's for the chance of benefit of mine is exploitation.
You're promising answers.
That is not trigger. Trigger is getting your originality. What can I do differently? Okay. Every one of us have certain originality. I don't share my originality because I'm afraid what you will think of. See, most of us don't share our originality because we are worried about what others will think of. Am I right in saying this?
True, sir. True, sir.
So when I say trigger, it is not to undermine somebody's hard work. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about it. I want to get that originality. That person will have a lot of creative thoughts. Do I get that creative thoughts? He will not come out with the creative thoughts because he feels, why should I waste my time? This company will not accept my time, or humiliate me, they will hurt me. So trigger is from that perspective, not from an exploitative perspective. and treasure talent at all levels. Please, English noise is not important. I think Registrar spoke about it. English noise is not at all important. Native voice is very, very important. And every native voice in the country is very powerful. Every native voice has talent. They may not have a rubber stamp. Please find ways and means of treasuring that talent. And training is lost. The reason why I'm saying training is lost, you go to a training session and then when it comes to application, the boss says, forget what you learned in the training, do what I say. So most of the time, we lose tacit knowledge in training. Training has to be on the job, application focused, and it cannot be 30% theory, 70% practical. With this, I end my session. These 10 T's are the most important, which connects all the 20 questions. I don't know whether I did justice to what I spoke, but don't follow my views. Stand out in your inner strength. I may be wrong, but please use UQ, EQ, IQ, SQ, but more than EQ, IQ, SQ, use CSQ. What is CSQ?
Common sense.
Absolutely, common sense quotient. What I spoke is common sense. Okay. And I'm a proud social work student. Anywhere I'll go and talk top of the roof. Social work has taught me all this, connecting with people, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm a social work student. I'm not ashamed to say I'm a failed student. Both have helped me to grow in life. Thank you very much. Any questions I'm willing to take.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. There is a question from Karthik again. Culpability. Help us to know who was or what was responsible that increased your area of culpability.
I don't understand the question. What is the question again?
Mr. Karthik, you can just unmute and ask him, please.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. This is like
Yes,
help us to
Karthik.
know who was or what was responsible that increased. Yeah, I think it who or what was responsible that increased your area of culpability, sir.
Okay,
That
I
can
don't
guide
mind
us.
learning from a first standard student. And whenever I read a newspaper, I find some interesting article. I read about a gentleman called Shanmugappa, who was a porter in Bangalore railway station, and Abdul Kalam says he's his role model. Abdul Kalam says he's his role model. And it took 3 months for me to get an appointment. I went and met him. And we are all talking about conviction. He fought corruption even before Anna Hazare. He's based out of Bangalore. Okay, he can't speak English. And the brew coffee, what you drink, comes from his factory today. But he started his career as a porter with the 8th standard qualification. Okay. And today he is my role model. So I don't mind going down to meeting people, talking to them. Because the moment I think I'm a so-and-so gray hair, bald head, I have qualification, then I don't reach the people down. Everybody is knowledgeable. There's nothing, nobody is saying that only X and Y is knowledgeable. Somewhere we are all so brand conscious. If you come from a branded institute, you're knowledgeable. If you come from a branded company, you're knowledgeable. It's not necessary. Sometimes you're slaves there. It's better to be head of a cat than tail of a lion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
My answer may not be right.
Yes.
Sir.
We close. I think we're taking a long time.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Feel free to write to me.
Yeah. And the feedback link is given in the chat box. I request everyone to send the feedback. Those who are filling the feedback, will be sent certificates of participation. Thank you, Mr. Dean Dayalan, for your, volunteering to take up this session. Thank you
Well
so
done,
much.
Dean. Well done.
Oh, thanks, Java.
Yeah. Now we are coming to the end of the session. May I request Mr. Venkatesh Murthy, Vice President of MSW Socialize and General Manager of Quest Corp, to propose the vote of thanks. Mr. Venkatesh Murthy.
Thank you, Dr. James. It is my great pleasure to propose a vote of thanks. to all of you, particularly to Mr. Deen Dayalan, very calm, quiet, and knowledgeable social work HR person, and we call him as senior guru. Even though directly we won't interact with him, but he teaches us in a different style altogether. Today it was one of the examples which we had through our alumni of Mysore University Social Work Department. So at this juncture, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Shivappa, the Registrar of University of Mysore, for his inaugural talk, and he has shared his views, particularly what is HR and what is not HR aspects, and it was a good opportunity for us to have him on the board on this series. So special thanks to Mr. Deen Dayalan once again. I hope all the participants enjoyed and learned a few things. Definitely, I picked up one of the things which I wanted to share, that I have a difficulty. Still, I am a Kannada medium student. When I am interacting with students, one of the reasons, my communication ability may put me down, even though I know knowledge. So what I learned from Deen today is that so interaction will make you to share your knowledge, better way of sharing your knowledge and expertise. So I hope the students learned from his thoughts, because he is the down to earth character, and from the grassroots level, he taught you pinpoint of HR aspects. I need not to go into the details. Definitely, it makes recently I was reading one of the book called The Indian Boss at Work, written by Steve Ore. There was a point where how a time plays an important role in an individual's how he is going to play his role. So Kala Mattu Desha, how it plays a very important role in an individual's responsibility or the role which is going to play. So I think Mr. Deen has covered all these three aspects: how HR should play a role by his own nativity, and creativity, what he should have in his role as a social worker, what responsibility he has got as an HR. He has covered very beautifully. I must thank my guru. And I would like to thank Mr. Jepakumar, one of my senior guru once again. Mr. Sri Ganesh, he was part of the series. I thank my friends, Dr. Srinivas, Dr. Kumudini for her welcome and introduction speech. I thank Mr. Uni from Transcat Solutions Private Limited. I thank all the teaching fraternity and students and professionals, those who are part of this program. It was a wonderful session. I think from MSW Socialites alumni of Mysore University, we will have such kind of initiatives and programs in future too. I thank especially Dr. James for his keen interest in bringing up this series once again for the benefit of the students. I would like to conclude this session. Hope Dr. James, we can close with this. Thank you very much to all the participants, directly, indirectly, and particularly Prism consultants, those who are supporting us free of this webinar series. I think Manjunath, Anjanappa, I think somebody is coordinating now. Thanks to you guys for this special
Prime events.
Prime events. Sorry.
Yeah, only one thing I just wanted to just add here.
Prime group.
Prime events and conferences. The only thing I just want to add is a person like Deen is very, very practical and insightful. I want students, maybe, at least any other further interactions, please open up and speak. These are opportunities very rarely available to you. Please utilize by interacting, and that is how you can enrich yourself. Please speak up. There's nothing, there's no assessment here, as he said. You should speak up. And for HR profession, it is very, very important that you should voice your opinion. So it is necessary that you should, at some point of time, start interacting, and in your own interest. Unless your communication is effective, your voice will not be heard. So this is very essential, whether it is in a small organization, big organization, or any institution, wherever you work, you should speak up. That's very essential. I just want to give it as an advice to all the students. Please utilize every opportunity to speak up. That's how you can come up also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Venkatesh Murthy, for your proposing vote of thanks. Thank you, Mr. Deen Dayalan. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the participants. Our next program will be announced very soon, and Mr. Deen Dayalan is supporting us to get a union leader for interacting with the students next time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dean, for all your efforts.
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Rajan from Prime Group.
Prime event. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You can close the event recording. You can close it.
Yes, sir. Yes, I will do.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Bhimrao.
So I'm closing the events.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Thank you so much.